Hello students, so I am your Chegu Tasha here. So we are joining back for Science DLP Year 3. So today we'll be looking at manipulative skills. So under manipulative skills, let's see what we'll be gonna learn today. So before that, I want you to like, share, and also subscribe my channel. Okay, so now let's continue. So what will we be learning today? So we will learn how to use and handle apparatus and science substances correctly, handle specimens correctly and carefully, sketch specimens, apparatus and science substances correctly, clean science apparatus correctly, and store science apparatus and substances correctly and safely. So these were the ones we will be learning. So before that, let's see what does manipulative skills means. So manipulative skill is referred to psychomotor skills used in scientific investigation. Psychomotor means you will be hands-on, you will be making the investigation, right? Experiment, right? So you're using your hand. So when we use our psychomotor skills, that is called manipulative skills. Okay, students. So now we will be looking at use and handle apparatus and science substances correctly, handle specimen correctly and carefully. Okay, so for this one we'll be looking at Science DLP Year 3 textbook at page 16. So this is the page. So we'll be looking at one by one, using and handling science apparatus, substances and specimens. So let's start. Okay, Kina and Lim want to carry out scientific investigation. Let us read their conversation. So while we are reading this conversation, what we're gonna do is we're gonna identify where are they using and handling this apparatus, specimens, everything. Okay, students, so let's start. Lim, how can I catch a grasshopper? Oh, try using a net. I'll put the grasshopper in this jar if I catch one. So let's find what are they doing. So they want to use a net to catch a grasshopper. And after Lynn caught the grasshopper, Kina got the grasshopper, she gonna put the grasshopper in this jar. So they are using manipulative skills they are using is handling specimens correctly and also carefully. Okay, students, so let's continue. Let's look at here. Can the captured grasshopper breathe in a closed jar? In that case, I cover the top of the jar with a piece of cloth with holes. So Lim is asking, how can the grasshopper breathe in a closed jar? So what Lina suggests is, she wanna put the cover the top of the jar with a piece of cloth with holes so that the grasshopper can breathe. So this shows that she's using the apparatus correctly. So if you place the grasshopper in a closed jar, it will unfortunately die. So instead of that, she placed a piece of cloth with holes on top of the jar. Okay, let's continue. Suddenly at the field, Kina, what did you catch? I caught a grasshopper. So look at here, she got the grasshopper, and the thing is, she used a net to catch the grasshopper and also place the grasshopper inside the jar with cloth and holes in it. So this shows that she's handling the specimens correctly and also using the apparatus correctly. So this is how you identify what are the manipulative skills that you will be applying when you're doing the experiment. So this is not just to study, okay? So whenever you are doing experiment, all of these skills are needed. Okay, let's continue. So we'll be continuing our next page, Science DLP Year 3 textbook at page 17. Let's see. Okay. How many grasshoppers do you need? Just one. Put a leaf inside the grass for the grasshopper to eat. So here what you can see is she have placed a leaf for the grasshopper to eat. So the grasshopper will have food to survive. Now it already have air because the lid of the jar is taken out and they covered with cloth with holes, and they have given the grasshopper food to eat. So this shows that they are handling specimens correctly and also carefully. So this is how you identify. So specimens means, some of you will be thinking, what is specimens, teacher? Specimen means a living thing. For example, in this case we are talking about grasshopper. In other case, you may be using a earthworm. That one is a specimen. You might use a spider. That one is a specimen. You might be using a cockroach. So that's all we're calling it specimens. Okay. So let's continue to sketch specimens, apparatus and science substances correctly. So whenever you do a experiment, so you have to sketch what you are doing. So for that you have to correctly and you have to sketch the specimens, apparatus, substances correctly so that it won't show any errors. Okay, so let's see. Teacher asked me to sketch this grasshopper. So Tina got the grasshopper and she sketched the grasshopper. So before that, let's see what is sketching. So sketching means a method to record information in the form of diagram. So in this case, we are applying communicating skills also. So she's using diagram to present her data, which is the collected grasshopper. And your sketching should be clear, accurate and also labeled. So these three things you have to put it in your mind. It's your sketching should be clear. It's not drawing, it's sketching, and it's supposed to be very accurate and also have to be labeled. So now we'll be looking at page 18 in Science Year 3 DLP textbook. So now what we're gonna do is we're gonna see how we're going to sketch a beaker. Okay students, so to sketch a beaker, you put a tree line like this and make sure you're not covering this area. It should be left like this, empty. So once you draw three lines like this, then only you will connect the dots like this in a curved way. Can you see? In a curved way. No beaker will be in straight lines. This is not a beaker. Okay? It always will have a curved line. Okay? Next one. Let's see. So once you have drawn your beaker, you're gonna draw the solution inside or water inside the beaker. So you have to draw this line first, and then only you can draw this curved section. Once you draw this curved section, you have to draw the solution inside. So for that you have to draw these lines inside of the beaker. So it will show that it have a solution, it have a water. So you have draw it clearly, accurately. So what you're gonna do is you're gonna label it. So they have labeled its solution and also beaker, have labeled it clearly. Okay, so now let's look at page 19. So we'll be looking how to sketch a test tube. So this is same thing also. Beaker they have a bigger width, but here it's smaller. So you're gonna do the three lines, and then you're gonna do the curves just like you did for beaker. Can you see the curves? And this also is the same. You will do the line first and then you will do the curve. Okay, and next one we are doing a drawing the stopper. For stopper you will put the square first and then you will mark it like this, a bit slantingly. Okay, so you will mark like this, and once you draw it accurately, clearly, and you will label. So this So you label. So this is what we call labeling. So when you draw everything and you have labeled everything, this will end up calling sketching. Okay, so for to draw the straight lines, you always have to use this ruler. You cannot draw it using a free hand. You have to use ruler for straight lines only. For the curve, you have to use your free hand. And every sketch should be labeled correctly. So you have to put in your mind, it should be labeled. Then only you will get the full marks. It will be clear what you're doing. Okay. Next one, we'll be looking at clean science apparatus correctly. Store science apparatus and substances correctly and safely. So for that, we'll be looking at page 20, Science DLP Year 3 textbook. Okay, for cleaning, once you completed one science investigation, science experiment, you must clean, dry and store the science apparatus correctly. So once you're doing, you have to clean using a clean water in the science room. They have provided pipes, everything, so you have to clean those science apparatus. Once you have cleaned them, they'll be wet, right? To dry them, you will place it in a designated area. So like for test tube, they have test tube wrap. The test tube will be placed inside these racks so that it can dry first. Once done that, you will be storing it. Okay, whenever you go to a science room, they will have a big rack with name of the apparatus. So you will store all those apparatus in that place. Wherever you are taking it, from where you're taking, you have to put it back in that place. Okay, so that's all for cleaning and storing science apparatus. Very easy. So let's recap. For unit 1, for our chapter 1, what we learn is science process skill. We have learned about observing, classifying, measuring and using numbers, making inferences, predicting and communicating. Okay, so for manipulative skills, today what we learn, we learned about use and handle science apparatus and science and substances correctly, handle specimens correctly and with care, sketch specimens and science apparatus correctly, clean science apparatus correctly, store the science apparatus and substances correctly and safely. So this is what we learned in this chapter 1. Okay, which means our chapter 1 has come to conclude. Before that, we're gonna answer all these questions. Okay, so this will be on your page 22. Okay, so the question 1, what are the senses used to make an observation of the durian? Okay, so the science process skill that we are using here is observing. So whenever you are observing, you have to use your 5 senses, but you can see here is it is a durian. So for durian, what we'll be using? We'll be using our sight, our taste, our smell and our touch. So these senses we will be using to make an observation of the durian. Okay, next one, what are the characteristic does these animals share? What are the similarities they are asking? So they have fur. Oh, there will be some other answers. You might have some other answers, so that shouldn't be a problem. Okay, let's continue. Number 3, a ruler is an apparatus that we use to measure in centimeter. What we use? We use length. We use ruler to measure length. So from here we are using numbers, measuring and using numbers. That the process skill we are using. Next one, Aisha is making bracelet of multicolored beads. Predict the color of the next bead. So science process skill we are using is predicting. So it will be green or blue. If it comes here means it will be green. It comes here means it will be blue. Okay class, let's continue. Make an inference about a torch that does not have a light. So the So the torch doesn't light. So what is your inference? So what you should do here? You should ask why. Whenever you see an inference, you should ask why. Why does the torch does not light? Okay, because the battery of the torch is died, or maybe it has some other technical problem. That's how you should make. You should ask why whenever you see an inference question. Next one. Information and data may be presented in various forms such as table, diagram or model. Okay, this is communicating. We learned in last video. So communicating table, what else we have? We have graphs. Okay, let's continue. State true or false for the following statement. This is the one we learned today. We should throw specimen in the sinks. Okay, remember students, we should never throw the specimens in the sink. Since it's a living thing, you should put back where you took the specimen. So this statement is false. Okay, we should use wooden tongs to hold a hot test tube. Okay, tongs means it's like a clip. It will be holding a test tube. So they want to use wooden tongs when it's hot, because to avoid the tongs to get hot. So you cannot hold it. Okay, so that statement is true. We should use specimens in large quantities, which is wrong. If you want one grasshopper, you should only take one grasshopper. You cannot take 10 grasshoppers. Okay, and we should label each sketch of the science specimens apparatus and also substances. Yes, we should label. Okay, students. So last one. What must be done after completing a science investigation? We already learned about this. We should be clean and also store the science apparatus in the designated racks and also areas. So with that, we have completed our chapter 1. Successfully completed chapter 1. So teacher will be joining you for our chapter 2. So that's all for today. Thank you very much for spending your time with me. Thank you, students.